When Clement first stood upon the shores of Lake Ohrid, he did not see merely a landscape of water and stone. He saw a tabula rasa, a blank slate for a nation's soul. The mission entrusted to him by Prince Boris was monumental: to transplant the fragile seeds of Slavic literacy from the wreckage of Moravia into the fertile soil of the Bulgarian Empire. As the wind swept across the sapphire expanse, Clement realized that for the word to survive, it could no longer be a secret shared by a few elite monks. It had to become the breath of the people. In the quiet hours of the night, Clement wrestled with the glagolitic script created by his masters Cyril and Methodius. While beautiful and sacred, its intricate loops and complex geometries were a barrier to the common man. He spread his old scrolls across a scarred oak table, the candlelight dancing over characters that looked like ancient runes. To build a literate society, Clement knew he needed a bridge, a script that combined the familiar elegance of the Greek uncial with the unique phonetics of the Slavic tongue. Collaboration became the forge of this new orthography. Clement worked alongside his companion Angelar, testing the weight and balance of every new character. They debated the tilt of a line and the curve of a bowl, ensuring that the letters were not just functional, but possessed a rhythmic harmony. Together, they etched these experimental symbols into wax tablets, carving out the birth of what would become the Cyrillic alphabet, a tool of liberation designed to break the monopoly of foreign tongues. The monastery of St. Panteleimon soon transformed from a place of prayer into a hive of intellectual labor. Clement personally oversaw the education of the first generation of scholars. He sat with a young, gifted student named Sava, teaching him how to control the flow of ink. "The pen is a plow, Sava," Clement whispered, "and these pages are the fields that will feed our grandchildren's minds." He watched as Sava's trembling hand finally steadied, tracing a bold, clear letter that would outlast empires. The arrival of Naum, Clement's old brother-in-arms from their days in Moravia, brought a surge of renewed energy to the Ohrid school. They met at the monastery gates, their reunion a silent testament to their survival and shared purpose. Naum brought news of the capital, while Clement showed him the burgeoning library. Together they planned the expansion of the school, envisioning a network of scriptoria that would produce thousands of books to be distributed across the vast reaches of the empire. By the year 893, the Ohrid Literary School had become an unprecedented center of learning, housing over 3,000 students. The air in the scriptorium was thick with the scent of oak gall ink and drying vellum. Students like Sava and Branimir worked in shifts, their nibs scratching a constant rhythm against the parchment. They were not merely copying religious texts, they were creating a standardized vernacular, ensuring that law, history, and philosophy could finally be expressed in the language of the people. The political weight of Clement's work culminated in a grand audience with Prince Boris. The aging monarch, who had risked his crown to Christianize his people, understood that the new script was the final piece of the sovereign puzzle. Clement presented the prince with a beautifully illuminated codex, written entirely in the new Cyrillic hand. Boris touched the pages with reverence, recognizing that this book represented a Bulgarian identity that could no longer be erased by Byzantine or Frankish influence. Clement's dedication led to his historic appointment as the first Slavic bishop. Though his robes were now fine silk and his responsibilities grew to encompass the spiritual welfare of the entire region, his heart remained in the classroom. He used his authority to ensure that every church had books in the native tongue. Standing in the pulpit of his cathedral, he did not speak in the distant Latin or Greek of the past, but in the clear, resonant Slavic words that he had fought so hard to preserve. As the years advanced, the fruits of the Ohrid school began to spread far beyond the lake. Naum and Sava stood on the monastery balcony, watching a caravan of scholars depart for the northern territories, their mules laden with crates of precious manuscripts. The Ohrid spark was becoming a wildfire of literacy. Clement's vision had successfully transitioned from a desperate survival tactic into a cultural hegemony that would eventually unite the Slavic world under a single powerful script. In the twilight of his life, Clement returned to the stone bench where he had first contemplated his mission. The sun set over Lake Ohrid, casting a golden bridge across the water. He held a simple quill in his hand, feeling the calluses earned through decades of labor. He knew that while his body was fading, the letters he had refined would endure. The silence of the Slavic people was over. They now possessed a voice that would echo through the halls of history, written in the ink of a legacy that would never fade.